Good day everyone and welcome to another vlog for the Exodus 7 to 12 KJV project. Well, this week has been busy to say the least. But first of all, I'm going to talk about the defocus node and I'll get to it as to why I'm focusing on this later. But I want to show you guys what it looks like when you actually have your objects layered. In other words, this Suzanne doesn't cut on the shapes in the background. The blocks don't cut on the Suzanne in the background. If you blur these, what the result is versus going for a post-processing look. Very big difference from a post-processing look. So now I'm going to show what that looks like. Well, it is passable. It is certainly not ideal. Specifically, when you look at this. You see over there, the blocks are supposed to be in clear focus, but because of the way the masking works and because of the way that the blurring works, you don't have this information. You just don't have it. And because you don't have it, this happens. It's quite an issue. I do believe that there is a way to fix it, at least to some extent, and that is to make it blur only from the edge outward when it comes to the middle ground. But unfortunately, then you also miss out on this lovely fuzzy edge over here. And it's very difficult for the computer to understand what is background, what is foreground, etc., etc., etc. But I do believe there is a way to fix it. Having said that, it's just plain better to get your layers separate from the get-go and then do a blur. Because as you can see, it works great when there's exclusively front focus or exclusively back focus. Also, something else to watch out for are these little edges over here. I'll zoom in the edit. These edges over here are not sharp, but they're not as smooth as they should be. I'm going to show you an example from this week now to show you what I mean by it's too sharp. Look over here with Aaron's sleeve. You can see that it's like the blur cuts sharply over here through the guard. Another issue with the blur is that the image itself doesn't blur as much as the mask does. Now that I fixed this week. And you can also see that it was fixed in the example, but the sharpness is still a bit of an issue. And I still have to work a little bit on it in order to get that fixed. Having said that, I'm pretty happy with the result, and you don't even notice this edging issue in the final video. So let's get into the edit. Okay, so back in the edit, we are going to be starting with a very familiar scene. You guys remember this one from last week, obviously. And of course, we did move on to this shot over here, but God had me re-render it, as I told you guys in the post. But there was a specific reason as to why, actually a few reasons. Primarily, I told you guys that I was busy reanimating some of the stuff. You will be amazed how many people are in the scene that need attention. And of course, I missed the serpent and a bunch of other stuff as well. Not getting into the super fine details of it. I want to talk about this part over here first. Now, initially, I just had it fade to just a normal fade through, but that just didn't work. Honestly, it just didn't work. So when I felt led to add this white, fade to white to the second source, I was like, I really like that. That's cool. So instead of just sticking with the, just a normal crossfade, it goes white and turns. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in speed. Shockingly, this shot was still too slow. Really. Amazingly. After redoing it so many times and checking the OpenGL, etc., you name it, this thing was still too slow, too fast. It was actually 2 times too fast. On the dot. So what had to happen was I needed to find some way of interpolating it. But before I get to the interpolation, I want to show you guys the finished shot. So I'm going to move my end frame to not show you guys that last part just yet. I'm going to make it move all the way up to there. Okay. So I'm going to sync it up, and this is the final shot. That is super awesome. Now, the reason I had to use interpolation was because everything was just too fast. It was literally twice the speed it had to be. And before I even went for the quote-unquote lazy man's motion blur, God told me, use interpolation. I was like, no. Only if it looks crap will I use it. Needless to say, it looked crap, so I had to use it anyway. That's why you don't see that weird frame difference mixing type situation in here. You can see that every frame is there. But the thing with interpolation is when the program looks for those motion vectors in order to draw you another frame, it sometimes doesn't have anything to go on. So it creates this kind of weird dissolve effect, which I actually kind of like. If you look at how Pharaoh appears, look at that. Boom. It's not his best look, but it certainly looks cool for the interpolation. It's strange what the program does with it. It can't tell that it's just going to appear. And it does that with all of them. You can look with the serpent as well. And with Aaron. I like his the most because it looks like he kind of pops in, you know. And you can see a little bit of Moses' arm over there. And of course Moses comes in like that as well. Also materializes. It's just absolutely the coolest thing ever. Anyway, interpolation means that the computer draws in the extra frames, and it's not a fakery of frames. So I'm going to show you what this looks like again, and then I'm going to show you what the lazy man's motion blur thing would look like. Okay, now I'm going to show you the other one. Okay, now pay attention specifically to the serpent. You can see it the clearest on the serpent. There. You can see it's got this wavy, blurry type thing going on there. It doesn't look horrible, but it's not what I wanted. It had to be clear, just like Pharaoh's motion is clear. So as soon as I saw that serpent, I was just like, yeah, this is just not going to work. So I followed God's advice and I did the interpolation. It didn't even take long, and it just looks much better than this. This looks like 90s or 80s TV. So just to compare again. Look at that. Silky smooth. Plus this is at a better speed as well. So anyway, that is the first shot for the week, was this one. And believe it or not, this was actually one done in 3D as well. This whole spatial thing. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so without letting it render at the moment, I just want to show you guys what the setup looks like. If you look over here, you can see we have various input sequences. To put it as bluntly as possible, these are just the character renders with their depth maps. I had to render the depth maps out to create this composite shot. Ironically, there is an easier way to do it in the VSE, but hey, you live and you learn. Anyway, I can still say that thankfully for where I was at before God showed me how to do it this week, He still helped me get it done this way. And I do believe that this is in my personal opinion, the best way to do it, but there is an easier way to do it in the VSE directly. It just takes a little bit of effort, and yeah. The irony is that this one is slow in making the shot once. The VSE will be slow in making the shot every time. So you kind of get to pick. That's why I say this one is the better one. So what happens is I mask out the shot so that we can see what it looks like. I just want it to actually give me something to look at. There we go. That's why. It's because it starts too late. I had to make sure that it was sequenced with the 2D shot. Basically what that means then is when you put it out to 3D, I'm going to use the anaglyph one so you guys can actually see what it looks like. So when I use the color anaglyph, you can see that Moses and Aaron are actually in 3D. Another advantage of having done it this way also enables me to make sure that their depth is consistent with each other, because all of these scenes have the exact same depth settings. It's absolutely awesome. And I want to show you guys what this looks like in combination with the shot itself. So I'm going to focus on the 2D version, just so it goes a little bit faster in terms of the compositing. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and select the frame, and then I'm going to switch back to anaglyph. The reason it's taking so long is because we're working with full HD. Okay, so now you can see that we have this shot in here, and you can see that we have this, but I did not render the depth map for this. That's why we have all of this going on, because I had to make this pop-up shot work for the side-by-side, which means that the right side had to be edited and the left side had to be edited, and it meant it's just a crazy amount of masking and stuff like that. After the shot was done, I'm like, never again. It was just so much effort. I think it took about between 1 and 2 hours just to set up the stupid thing. That doesn't even include the render time. But I put more about this in the post. But I do want to show you guys what this looks like in 3D. And there we have it. Absolutely stunning. I mean, you can see the depth in there. I mean, it's just insane. You have the throne room completely indented and Moses and Aaron standing out. It creates this huge sense of space. Now, one thing I want you guys to look at is this little fold over here by Aaron's hand. That is because of the distortion. Now, as I've mentioned a billion times, distortion is how this method works. It distorts the image based on the depth. What that means for shots like this means that if you cut them, just normally cut them after shifting and all that kind of stuff, you can get it to work, but it's very, very tricky to scale something that is side by side unless you have created a system that can center each frame that you scale so that the offsets are consistent and all that kind of stuff. I don't have something like that, so I'm glad that I went with this instead. But I will show you guys how you can work with side-by-side stuff in the VSE in a minute. Okay, so back in the edit, we are off to our next shot, which is the magicians finally being revealed. And I showed you guys a frame of that a minute or so ago. So I just want to keep it a surprise, so I'm going to hide this edited part, so I can just show you guys the actual shot. So I'm going to let it start here and end it over there. Okay. So this is what this shot looks like. I just want to... Yeah, it's just a super shot. I mean, I just love it. The only thing I'm not crazy about is the fact that there's this fire pot thing in front of, I almost called him Adam and Eve. In front of Moses and Aaron. Good grief, I need a nap. Okay. So that's the only thing I don't like about the shot, but also that they're very static, but that doesn't bother me at all because, you know, they're supposed to be creepy. So what happened here was I used the defocus node to make sure that Moses and Aaron were in focus on the start of the shot. Let me just play that again. You can see that the cloud is out of focus, but where these rays come through, there is focus because the rays in the depth of things, I can put it that way, This part is also supposed to be in focus. Technically not correct, but whatever. I just wanted these rays to be in focus as well. That's why it ended up being that way, and it's a cool effect. It really is. So the cloud is clearly out of focus, and they're in focus, and then the focus shifts as the cloud evaporates. You can see she's becoming in focus. So it's a very short shot where you actually see the magicians between Moses and Aaron, and then boom, switches over to the foreshot over there. Now, of course, I felt that this shot needed a little something extra. I like the scale of it, I really do, but there's a lot of dead space. And I felt like, you know, we need to see the magician's face and expressions as well. It's a little too bland, shall we say. So this is where editing for side-by-side comes in. So I'm going to reveal the node, not node, video that was added. So you can see that this happens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it plays smooth by letting it play through once, you know, to cache the frames, and then I'm going to show you the entire shot. Okay, so now that we have a nicely cached sequence, I'm going to show you what it looks like when it plays smoothly. That took a lot longer than it appears to be. And remember, all these things had to be rendered and animated and all that kind of stuff as well. It's not a case of just sticking in an additional camera and boom, everything just happens at once. It's not the way it works. And not only that, shots like this, I had to render full HD, full HD, full HD, full HD after animating it and making sure everything is good. And of course, this had to be re-rendered again. So there's a lot of stuff that happens in the week. The only difference between these two shots, though, is the fact that this one and this one is a camera switch. Except for this. This was a post-edition, which I'm going to show you now. So I'm actually quite curious to stitch all the stuff rendered this week and actually see how much footage was generated this week, because this is additional footage to this. It's the privilege of being able to edit something the same time as creating it. It gives you a lot of freedom to do stuff like this. So let me show you what the edit looks like. I just want to zoom in on it so I can actually see it. Okay. So what happens here is we have a mask. So I'm going to show you what the mask looks like. The mask is purely a bar created at the top of the screen that is transitioned with Blender's own transitions. It's called a wipe. Most of you know what that is. If you don't, you're looking at it. This is just to create this strip. The problem initially was that I wanted to add a black strip as well, you know, to create those little letterbox type stuff, but it didn't work as well because I wanted this mask to include the whole thing. So instead, God led me to actually mask out the original one. I just want to get in there like this to mask out the original one with black bars that would fit that frame. So if I remove these black bars, you can see that they're supposed to be there, you know. Okay. Now, it's just the static shot. Of course, this one is moved up by using the image offset because it is full HD and the render will be full HD. It's just offset to be more vertical. And of course, then the black bars are added over it. So if I remove the black bars and I shift it back, 72. You can see that it's a full render. It's not just me doing random stuff, you know. It is actually, yeah, a lot of work. And then, of course, this has to be masked, which is the first step in the process. You're using a strip modifier. You know, the strip modifiers at the bottom of this list over here in the N panel. And of course, I had to rename it to make sure that I can distinguish between the 2D and the 3D one. And of course, it had to be stretched out and all that kind of stuff, but we'll get to that. And then on top of that, we have the transition that cuts it out, which is this little strip modifier over here, which contains this. So if you move this thing, you move this. So this has to stay where the transition point is at. So I want to show you guys what this looks like when you have to do this for side by side, because remember, when you're saving to side by side, it means that whatever you do on the screen has to be done on the right side and on the left side. It's not a one-time thing. So of course I had to do 2 of these, but you only do one, squish it, and you place another one next to it. So this is what that would look like. So you have your transition, and it looks like this. So here you see we have the normal one, full screen. Nope, no issues. And it's transformed to be squashed by 0.5 on the X and then moved 25 points positive. I don't know if that's left or right. Let's see. It's right. It's moved right. I had to check it first. Anyway. And of course, that's also set to alpha over. Yeah, alpha over, so that it actually shows. And then we also have the black bars added synchronously to the other one. So again, if I move these black bars, I just want to check it's minus 48. See? So it's all very custom. Okay, so that having been exited. Sure, I had to find that. Okay, so there we have our transition. And of course, that's just masking our normal one, which would be this one right here. And of course, I'm just going to unhide the 3D so you guys can see it together. So if you pull it through, you can see the shot changes, one shot, boom, and then it comes in. Left side and right side. Now, the difference here is that some people would go to the outer extremes of actually offsetting these as well. I think that's unnecessary. You know, so that this would also have some sort of a parallax 3D type feeling, and I don't want that. So you're looking at a full 3D shot. This is 3D and this is 3D. It's not like I'm floating a 2D image over it. This is actually a 3D shot. I'm going to show you why I say that. Ach man, old age. Whatever. Just want to get to the shot as well. Okay, so you can see I only have the black bars here. So you're looking at the side-by-side render from the full scene, and of course, then this also gets the movement treatment, so that while it transitions, it moves up. Now, I do feel that the shot is way too long, not slow, but way too long. So it will stop approximately halfway, about there. I'm not too precious about rendering extra stuff, because the more meat you have, the more you can do with the edit. But this is quite a lot. So I want to show you guys what this looks like in 3D as well. There you go. This is what the shot looks like in an Anaglyph 3D format. Oh, isn't it just amazing? It just gives you that sense of space. It's just absolutely amazing. I just love it. Again, I combined a pop-out kind of shot over here with a fully indented one over there. And by fully indented, I mean there's still a depth difference. It's just all inside the screen. This one is more on top of the screen. I had to select the frame first. I forgot that I hadn't rendered this out as a normal 3D feature. Now, of course, that's it in terms of the finished rendered shots for this week. There is more, but that is something for next week. Unfortunately, they're not complete yet, so that's why I don't want to show them yet. It's where the magicians actually do their little enchantment thing, which is something you need to check out in the post today, the meaning behind that word enchantments. Now for a little surprise. Wallpapers. Oh yeah. So this week, over the weekend, I made a few wallpapers, upscaled to 4K, of course. It's absolutely awesome. So I'll put these up on the Facebook page, link in the post as well, so you guys can check that out. And that's it for this week. I hope you guys have a great one, and God bless you.